Right enough.
Hello.
Hello.
Mid-giggle,
Mid
mid-giggle
giggle.
to start this episode 8 of our lovely podcast. Yes.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we're like so topics then. And I don't even know how it got to be Monday again already.
Oh, don't ask
That
me.
that is just one thing. It's like, is it already a week? Has that happened? And nothing was coming through. And then all of a sudden, because I think you have said this word before, this
Mhm.
word has been mentioned,
I
and
mean, probably.
of course it's inherent in the cards.
That's
So
what I
there's
was going to say.
that.
Yes, I will have said this word before.
Exactly. And the confusion and general, I don't know whether chaos is the right word, that seems to be going on with both at the moment. It was like,
Hey,
why don't we
chaotic.
play with the topic of clarity? Because that could be interesting in the absence of it.
I was just going to say, because we have a huge lack of clarity. So let's bring that to the table and see if we
Let-
can find some along the way.
Let's unpack that and hope at the bottom of the suitcase is some clarity.
Well, I just want to give everyone a behind the scenes of what's just gone on when we were like, oh, have you chosen your card? I've not chosen my card. Right, let's quickly do it. And I had zero clarity when trying to choose my cards. I was like, nope, not that one.
I
No,
don't know what
not
that
that
is.
one. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. So you then decided to, try and help me out. And you were like,
Is it something like this?
yes. And the words aren't resonating with me today at all, but the pictures are. So because your camera's better, I'm going to get you to show them.
I started, and I'm going to describe this visually for those who are online. It's a person with a spaghetti of chaos above her head, just absolute chaos. So I kind of got this vibe from Gemma. I was like, is it something like this? Yes, that without the word, with a combination of this.
The
So we have
sloth.
the sloth lying literally face down, just kind of like, that's it, I'm just done. And I just thought that body with this head,
Mm.
that's the vibe I'm getting off you.
It literally couldn't be more me. If if I were able to find my own words, which I can't because of this chaos and the sloth energy that's going with me, that would be me. Yes.
There you go. And I only had a head start because Craig and I finally got round to doing our cards because we've had a week off as well back in the UK. And so we were kind of like, where are we? Because high energy, we're back in Istanbul. We're going to pick our bikes up tomorrow. So there's definitely a lot of energy here. A lot of so we went with excitement. Because there is, we're heading east. We got our Iranian visas. It is super exciting. I mean, we are going to Iran, but there is a lot of anxiety because the weather. Oh, we're going to be going into minus numbers. We're heading east into countries we've never been to. We don't know anything about. Um, so it's really going into the unknown.
I just want to
Mm.
say a couple of things. Number one, I'm really surprised about the high energy at the minute because we normally record very early in the morning.
Yes,
You are a huge morning person.
I
Like, yeah,
am.
this is where I'm at. I need my energy. And it's
Yeah.
20 past 7 in the evening for me. Is that 20
Past
past
nine.
3?
I'd probably be in bed by now.
I did not expect any energy at all. So that's my first thing. And my second thing is you're anxious about the temperatures, about, all of these things. Are you going to be wearing something that isn't just showing your whole shoulders when you're in
Yes,
minus
I
three?
have come back armed with head to toe, and I mean top of the head to the tippy toes, thermals.
Good.
I've got everything with fur inside,
Good.
thermal blind, you name it, you've got it. I'm going to be, I'm actually concerned I might be overheating with
I
all of the
don't
layers
think you will.
and
I'm just
thermals,
looking
I
at what you
thought.
see because I know that you've got longer slit things, but all I can see from where I'm looking at is just like this, tank top, and I'm like, maybe not ideal for minus
It's
minus
hot on a
three.
flight though, isn't it? And I'm
It is.
menopausal. My internal temperature regulator is broken.
I mean,
So
I have a Christmassy jumper on, which may well be coming off in about 5 minutes as well because I'm starting to get really hot. So
They look great, don't they? But I wore a Christmas jumper nearly all last week, and I was just thinking, dear God, these things are hot. So, but I did have a sequined vest underneath, which was,
Very
I
nice.
think, yeah,
Bit of
I went
sparkle.
full sequins last week. Yeah,
I mean, when in UK at the Christmas period, there's nothing else for it, to be
I
honest.
know, and I have to wear thermals for like the next 3 months.
Well,
So I
then it's
made
good that
most of it.
you've got all of your sequin and sparkle energy out. You know, you're
Left
like,
it on my nails. Look,
very
ding, ding, ding.
nice, very nice. So,
Yes,
clarity or lack of?
yes,
You
exactly
go.
that. Off we go. Go. Well, this is completely off the hoof. I literally haven't given this any thought at all. But obviously, when I named the cards, you
We're
see,
in a
this is where this
cloud.
is going. I gave it a lot of deep thought and research into clarity and because the cards are actually about our internal world, our psychology, our the conversation we have with ourselves and each other, and exactly what we did at the beginning of this. We were like, well, what are we?
Yeah.
And it's the navigation towards something where you can kind of come out a little bit of the chaos because you know what you're not, and that's what was really clear with you. It's like, well, I know I'm not those words. I'm not green. So sometimes it's the things we don't know. We're looking for the answer. We want to know, but we can be really clear about what we don't know. And I think that's quite interesting is to be able to kind of go, no, it's not. No, it's not that. No, 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 no. And then somewhere at the end of that is some clarity,
Well, because you're
um,
filtering things out. That's the
exactly that.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm definitely not this, so that's one thing less. And no, I'm definitely not that. No, I am
Uh-uh.
not feeling focused. No, I'm like harden the fuck up, just get on with it. And I definitely don't have that energy behind me. And so that does, even within the not knowing, being able to get rid of those things does get you closer to some kind
Exactly.
of clarity.
Yeah, exactly. So what is clarity for you? What does that word mean?
Um, the thing that comes to mind is like bright white light, so almost the light that you see when you come out of a tunnel, like you're in the darkness and you're like, ooh, driving through and you're not quite sure.
Uh,
And then all of a sudden there's this light and you can see again and everything becomes easier and everything becomes clearer. I'm obviously very visual today, aren't I? I'm like, I don't
yeah.
have words. I'll give you a tunnel. Think
Yeah.
of a tunnel, that is clarity, but when you come out of it, it's that moment.
Yeah, I love that though. I can really feel that because I think that is the experience, isn't it? The darkness, the kind of struggling to see, the kind of you've got pinpricks of light, literally. I mean, on a bike, it's horrific. When you're in a helmet and you're in a
Yeah.
tunnel,
Yeah.
your visibility is so reduced, and you are just trusting that you're going to follow these pinpricks of light and get out the other end. And it's so that was amazing. Thank you for that description.
That I love that you just said about trusting, like you being on my husband is a huge biker as well. So I know what you mean. I don't drive it, but I go on the back of the bike and that having to have almost blind faith
Yep.
that there is that light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel won't go on forever. And,
Yes.
if you just keep going,
Yeah.
hopefully you won't die.
Yeah. 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 If we want to be over dramatic, there is that. Yeah. But
At 7:30 in the evening, I think I'm very overdramatic today.
there's been a lot of, because there's a lot of tunnels in Spain, obviously. We don't have so many in the UK. So even when we moved to Spain, it was like, lot of tunnels,
Mm.
but they're relatively short. We've been through some monumental tunnels on this, where Craig and I have our intercoms. It's like, is this the longest tunnel we've ever been through? Like, I don't know, 5K or whatever. It felt like it
Wow.
went on forever.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
mean it
like,
would
are we ever going to come out the other end?
because, like you said, there is that lack of clarity because
Yeah,
you said pinpricks of light.
exactly that.
There's nothing huge to focus on, and I think
Mm,
that's when being in the tunnel, metaphorically or physically or emotionally or psychologically, when all you can see is a pinprick of light or nothing at all because this tunnel's got a bend, so you're not even seeing the end of it. It can feel really overwhelming and scary and, anxiety producing and all of those things that are then very uncomfortable to sit with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great metaphor. I remember the first tunnel I went through on my bike. I went into central London and was already petrified, and SatNav decided it would be a great idea to send me under the Blackwall Tunnel. It's just like, really? So you had
You.
not only, at least in Spain, you don't have the fumes. You go
Yeah,
into there and it is dark. It is, well, it's not actually that dark. The lighting is better, but the smell, and you just think, oh, this is oh, oh, it's horrible.
yeah,
Just nasty fumes and so not only do you get the light when you come out the other end, but that it's like you can breathe again. I
yeah.
felt like I held my breath the entire way through. A, because I was massively
So
massive, because
scared.
just ridiculous. Um, so the relief to come out again was huge.
Yeah, it just makes me think of that, like when you've got such high anxiety that almost feels like you're choking, you can't
Yeah,
get that breath in there.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, so
Yeah,
Blackwell Tunnel for anxiety producing non-clarity moments in the tunnel.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So what else for you in the past then around clarity or lack thereof?
Um, I think. In general, I mean, obviously, we all go through periods where we are more focused, less focused. We have more clarity, we have less clarity. We cope with stress better, and then, we find stress too, overwhelming in all of the senses. Um, and I mean, maybe the people around me wouldn't agree, but when I kind of take a step out and just kind of look at myself from above, I think that in general, I'm a person that has quite a lot of clarity. I don't
Mm,
generally, I couldn't decide what gen I wanted to say then. I don't generally feel like I don't have clarity.
mm,
I think in the past, I've always found it quite easy to decide, okay, where do I want to be? How do I, what do I need to do to get there? And even though it's been a bit darker sometimes, I've always been able to see light at the end of the tunnel. Even when I was really sick, there were times where, there was talk about maybe the disease progressing so much that, maybe my physical mobility would be affected in the long term. Maybe, walking would become more difficult and all of those things. But when I think back on it, even at those times, I feel like there was something inside of me that knew
mm,
to just keep going. So even though I didn't have complete clarity on the situation, I still felt clear enough to know that I just needed to keep going forward and we would figure this out some way. Even if that meant I was in a wheelchair, even if that meant, it ended up being MS and it ended up being an MS that was really debilitating. I felt deep down, even though sometimes on the surface it didn't feel like that, deep down, I felt like we would just find a way through. And so the idea of clarity, even within the darkest periods, I think has always been something that I've been lucky enough to have,
mm.
if that makes sense.
Well, it does because a bit like some of our other, we have these contrasting parallel paths, don't we? So I think when I pursued my corporate career and the six figures, I literally had my goals mapped out, like six-figure salary, VP title, all of these things. And I think when I achieved that, I thought, so I had complete clarity about what I was going to do. When I got there, it was just like the tunnel was a dead end. I got to the end of the tunnel. I went, oh, hold on a
This
second.
isn't it.
This is where I'm supposed to go into the bright light, and
Yeah.
all will be well. And it absolutely wasn't. It was just getting worse and worse. And I was in so much chaos and confusion with, well, I don't understand. I've got I've ticked all the boxes. Where's the joy?
Mhm.
Where's the pot of gold at the end of this rainbow? It's not there. Um, and I think that complete lack of fulfillment in what I was doing, um, and I suppose I got so desperate. I just left IBM. I did not have any clarity whatsoever, other than it's not that.
Yeah.
That's not me.
But the
But I didn't
not
yet know.
knowing.
Yeah. And
Mm.
I was desperately searching for who am I then? If this is not me, who am I? And I didn't know. And it took me a long time to find out.
Mm.
Um, or rather, a long time to find out who my version of me was that wasn't being so strongly influenced by the people around me of who I should be. And that clarity where what you described in your sickness of knowing that you would come out of it
Mhm.
because you had it within you, that intrinsic knowing, that's what it took me a long time to find. All of mine was extrinsic. Please this person, earn this money, do this thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think maybe I'm making it sound like I I definitely knew, and I was very set, and I wasn't, I absolutely wasn't. But the one thing that I did feel very clearly about, and I can remember this conversation, I was blessed to have lots of doctors and still do have lots of amazing doctors, but there are two that have been my guardian angels throughout this whole process. And one of the reasons I have this chaos in my mind at the minute is because I had an appointment this week with one of them, and she has very much, made me look into the mirror again and be like, that tunnel, that's not the way.
Oh,
Not down there, and you know it's not, but you keep going down there. So that's, caused all this chaos in my mind. But there was one particular meeting that I had with her, who's a neurologist, and in Spain. I don't think this type of doctor exists in England, but I don't know because I've never been through the UK health system in that way. But an internal medicine specialist. Um, and they have been amazing. And we had this meeting where things were very complicated, and it was very uncertain where things were going to go. And it was, I would say the three of us, but obviously Jose was there as well. And I said to them, and I remember at the beginning of the meeting knowing that this was the one thing that I needed to say, because this was going to dictate how everything went forward from there. And I said to them, please don't ever be scared to give me all the information,
mm,
even if that information is, I don't know. It
yeah.
might be this, but I'm not sure. This
Mm,
might be the possibility. This might be your outcome. You might end up in a wheelchair, but I'm not sure. And I was
mm,
so clear about that. This was where I had clarity. And I
yeah.
want to kind
Yeah.
of rectify a little bit what I was saying before. This was where my clarity was. That I knew that the way forward was always having all of the information. No
Mm.
matter how scary that was, I am the type of control freak that I need to know it all.
I
And
do it
then,
all.
and then I'll figure out what to do with that.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't keep that from me, because I can handle that. What I can't handle, so the knowing and the not knowing,
Yep.
what I absolutely couldn't handle, and I still can't, is not having the information. I would rather know this is it and it's not looking good. That then
Hmm.
gives me something to play with. And
Yeah.
that then helps me have clarity,
Yeah.
around the situation.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
I mean, I've been so blessed in my life to not, the only time I've been into hospital is to have my children and my appendix out. Um, and in fact, in Spain, when I fell off my thing, but I just haven't, we were saying last week when we were with our family, we've been so blessed with health in our families. Um, we never take it for granted because you just can't. Health is such a foundation for everything else, isn't it? It's
It is, but also like, how amazing, that's what I would wish for you. that you've never had to have these problems, that, that isn't something that has to be on your radar,
Mm.
because it is a gift, but also let's celebrate that for the people that don't have to worry about those things, don't have that as part of their day-to-day life. Let's be happy for them. Like,
Definitely.
yay,
Yeah.
you go, be healthy, travel the world.
Yeah.
Woo. Tell
Yeah.
us all about it.
But it's one of those things, isn't it, to have gratitude. I think that's one of the first things I learned when I did positive psychology was I was like, oh, my life's awful, I've got this amazing job, I hate it. It's just like, oh my God. And this witnessing of people who are getting stressed and falling sick. And I went, well, I don't want to fall sick. I want to get out of the system before that happens to me. So I had this conscious awareness of a potential correlation between stressful job and shit health, basically.
Yes.
And wanting to do something about that, and it's having that intervention about gratitude that we've talked about before, and the difference it can make when you actually just say, this thing I don't have,
Hmm.
the sickness, the illness, because the health I do,
Yeah. Yeah.
very easy, the health I do have, being so grateful for that.
And for me, the health I have right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know I was when I was editing our last podcast the other day. I've also realized I just touch these all the time. It's because I need some new glasses and they keep slipping down my nose. So I'm always like, I'm so intellectual. I will touch my glasses. Yes. Um, I realized how much, health comes into my part of the conversation. Um, and linking that to what you're saying. But also, I am not where I was 3 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
I am absolutely not. And you didn't know that version of me. Because I was much more hermetic, much more cave-like, and not able to do as many things. And so part of my gratitude is, yes, I still have these ongoing things. Yes, it's going to be something that I'm going to have to, you know, not forget about on a day-to-day basis if I don't want to go back there. But wow, I am not where I was. I
Mhm.
am so well in comparison. I am so healthy. I am so much further forward. I currently, and we'll see how long we can go with that, I'm touching wood. Universe, please. I was able to come off a period where there were days that I was taking 26 tablets a day, and at the minute I'm not taking anything. So, yay to being healthy. And that also the gradients of that, that what
Yeah.
is healthy for one person for another might be the opposite, and that doesn't mean we're not unhealthy, we're just a different type. We're all just on our own journeys, and being grateful for wherever we are and whatever that is bringing to the table, even though sometimes there are illnesses that it's really hard to see that. And
Mm.
that's also okay if you can't see that, because the tunnel is so dark and it doesn't seem like there's light at the end of it. You don't have to then be grateful for everything that you're going through. You don't.
No, absolutely.
So, your clarity right now,
Well, you
or
know
lack
what?
of.
Well, what's come through now is actually how the uncertainty of not having the Iranian visa was affecting me. So we've now got clarity about our route, which we didn't have. And I was kind of, I suppose, making up contingencies and doing all that, all this other sort of stuff because of that lack of clarity.
Mhm.
So having that there is that feeling of we've come out of the tunnel a
Yeah.
little bit because we now know where we're going by
Mhm.
when, and that feels amazing. So
Yeah.
my present, yes, we're anxious about what we've got to do to get there, but just the knowing feels amazing. So yeah.
The power in having all of the information, the power of knowing, all the pieces of the puzzle, even though if you've no idea how this bloody puzzle goes together, but that can just give you freedom to say, okay, but I know something. So, like
Yes,
in the beginning, I don't know what card I am, but I do know something. I know I'm not this. We
yes.
don't know exactly how we're going to get there, but we do know that we're going. And sometimes that can be enough.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly that. Exactly that. What are you right now? Your
Hmm.
present clarity or lack thereof. I
I
don't
might
know.
go with lack thereof. I mean, I definitely feel like so today is the 16th of December.
Mhm.
And life will start to shut down on Friday, the 20th. Everything will slow down for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I have clarity right now. I feel like I need some, I talked about last week about going to a non-murderous wood cabin in the middle,
Yes.
a forest. Um, I still feel like I want to run away and just, hibernate in a forest, but I feel like I'm getting closer to being able to do that. And
Yeah.
so whilst there's still like that image of the card that you so wisely chose for me of spaghetti mess inside and above my head is still very much there. I know that I'm very nearly at a point where I will be able to take a step back and say, okay, let's just go spaghetti strand by spaghetti strand and, bin the bits that we don't
Yeah,
like and straighten out the bits that, we still want to keep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like
And
I
that,
will I'm nearly at a point where clarity should start to come back,
yeah. Because
hopefully.
I remember doing the data analysis for my thesis, and I had so much data because I stupidly did 3 time points. So the
Uh-huh.
methodology that I used typically does one, and I was like, no, I need three, beginning, middle, and end. It was like I was overwhelmed with data. And I thought, how the hell am I ever going to make sense of this? And I remember laying it out. And as you were speaking there about, laying out the strands of spaghetti, because it's all there, right? And it all has meaning. It's like you say, it's either we need to discard that because it's not relevant, or we need to keep that because it has a story to tell, but we don't know what. And then, and just going through that process of sorting things out can be so therapeutic, untangling the mess and stepping back and observing it from above. So that's why I'm a big fan of post-it notes, whiteboards, anything that helps you, even that's why I don't journal because I think it's too fixed for me. I like a dynamic
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
fluid way of I was going to say ejecting the
Right.
chaos from within. Get
Yes.
it out of me.
Yeah, it's a very forceful word. I'd like to eject all the chaos out of
Yeah.
me right now.
Projectile vomit, air, all of it. Get it out. It's because it's all in there, jumbled around, and ugh. Um, yeah, and sometimes you can just make sense of it when you because I used to just print all my data out, color code everything. I do like a bit of color.
I love
Color
color.
code the hell out of
Colored
it.
pens,
Yeah,
underlining, lit.
exactly.
Oh God.
Highlighters.
That and a bookshop, and honestly, I'm yours. I am yours. You
Oh,
promised me a life of color coding, highlighters, and bookshop. I'll leave everything right now.
I love that. Just to reflect back on our conversation last week, because I was in Oxford last Monday, as you know, and had all these highfalutin ideas of going and having the Ivy. I know you were in Bristol, and the bookshop, and then where Toby and I ended up.
Well, I know you were going to the KFC, but where else?
That's where we went, and we minced about there, and it was very very lovely. But I didn't make it to the bookshop.
But again, that's it. Like that's where true clarity lies. That sometimes how we can over convolute things, which I know is actually what's happening to me at the minute. Everything's going a million miles an hour, and I can feel that I'm making everything way too complicated, and it's so much more simple. I
Yes,
need to
yeah,
just go to KFC rather than thinking about doing all of these other things. And I have to say, there's one thing that I started doing a couple of nights ago, and it's something that's always worked really, really well for me, which is magnesium spray on the soles of my feet before I go
yeah.
to bed.
Yes, 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 yes.
And it what's the word, rebalances
Yeah,
the nervous system.
yeah,
So even if, I mean, I have been sleeping automatically a lot better, but it's the quality of sleep, and I can just feel that the decibels are just very slowly turning down and things are starting to settle. So that's
nice.
one thing. And I recommend it actually a lot, especially in with people that I'm working with, when when they're very anxious, or they're, the noise is too loud. It's one of the things that, it has worked for me, so I share it.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah,
also another thing. So I'm very lucky. Mom and Lisa, my sister, live, 2 minutes one way, 3 minutes the other. I was trying to think of the word there. Incestuously close. That was what I was going to say. We all live incestuously close.
oh,
And we have a friend, Marina, my lovely Marina, who is like part of our family girl circle. And I asked them in a group the other day if they wanted to join me, because I'm going to be doing this. I think I will do it between Christmas and New Year. There's an exercise that I use quite a lot about reconnecting with our core values and
nice.
using that as a so that we have our own personal compass to go forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that's what I'm going to do. So I said to the girls, I was like, I'm going to do this. Anybody you want to? And they were like, oh, yes, 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 yes. So we're going to have an afternoon between Christmas and New Year, and we're just going to drink tea, and we're going to do this, values exercise, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll do a vision board or something like that with it as well. But as a way to redefine what it is that what it is that's important to me
Mm.
at the minute, and from there then get all those spaghetti strands and be like, right, bin, keep.
Yes.
Bin, keep, and take it from there.
Yeah, lovely, beautiful. You'll have to share. Maybe we can wait. Maybe we can kind of use that. We talked about manifestation and all those other things because I think part of manifestation is clearing the decks.
Yeah.
Just clearing the decks, getting rid of all the old crap so that you've got this blank page to start with. It doesn't have to be blank, but at least what's on it is what you want on it.
Clearer, not
Yeah,
necessarily blank, just a clear focus on what it is that's
yeah,
important to you
yeah,
at the minute.
yeah.
I'm actually running a workshop around this on Thursday for a group of Spanish women, and I'm thinking about running, just offering it as a free workshop. I don't know, face to face or online, because I think it's a really good time of the year, whether it's towards the end of the year or the beginning of the year, to just refocus, reset, redecide. If you've done it before, okay, but where are you now? Like, I know
Mm,
what my 5 values have been for this year, and I'm really intrigued to see which one of them will have shifted. It's not that they disappear, but maybe I want to put my focus, on another one.
yeah,
um so yeah, I mean, I really love this exercise. I find it really helpful.
yeah. They're beautiful, aren't they? And the thing is, it's the investment of time and energy, like you say, as things shift, your priorities, ebb and flow. And yeah, I just think it is really important to check in on those things, isn't it? Keeps you
So
going forwards.
I was going to say, what about you? So, I mean, that's me, clarity going forward. That's my kind of
Mm,
very conscious steps of, I know I'm in a bit of a mess at the minute. I know
yeah,
I'm feeling like everything's a little bit too much. I
yeah,
don't want to stay here. I don't
yeah,
like it where I am. So,
yeah,
what can I do? And so the two things, my two top tips for today are, one, the magnesium oil that for me works so amazingly well, and
yeah,
two, the idea of going. I posted a video the other day, that on Friday, in fact, it was a reflection of what had happened all week in so many of my sessions and conversations that I'd had privately with people. And so I ended up videoing myself, which, I mean, I know I love talking, but this just feels like you and I are talking. It's not, filming myself as a video to put out to the world, even though I'm doing exactly the same thing now. It's just ridiculous. Um, and it was based around the idea of, what is it that I need right now?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how that ended up being, the thread of everything that happened last week and what people were bringing to sessions. And that was quite often their homework. It was like, okay, ask yourself. So towards the end of the session, be like, right, what do you need right? Literally this second, what do you need? I need this. Okay, can we do it? Yes, we can do it. Then after that, and step by step, every time you finish something,
Yeah.
what do you need right now?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What do you need right now? And I think that can be another tool when we're really,
Well,
struggling to find clarity. It
yeah.
brings us back to, okay, let's just park all of this
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
let's connect here and be like, okay, what do I need?
Yeah.
Okay, oh, I
Which
need a
leads
coffee.
into my answer actually, because I'll sort of go past and future. So when I did my NLP, we learnt about chunking. So these different layers of chunking. So you could have at your top chunk, I don't know, travel, and then, holidays, beach, Mauritius, whatever. And macro and micro planning is something that came from my background in program management. So, we would map out 5-year transformation projects
Yeah.
at a macro level, knowing, the timelines and milestones that needed to be hit within that. And that as those months and years came by, you'd end up with a macro plan of what needed to be doing when. And I think that way of chunking stuff down helps turn something really overwhelming, like a trip around the world on a motorbike, into something. Well, I just need to get to Brisbane. So that's the
Yeah.
macro plan. And then you chunk it down and go, well, I need to go through these regions and I need to do these things, because people are like, oh, it's too big, it's too
Yeah.
much, it's too,
Yeah.
it's too this. But exactly what you've just said there, what do you need to do right now? Can you
Yeah.
do that? Yes. Same with the Ironman. So when I did the Ironman, it was like, that's too much. I physically and emotionally and mentally can't cope with that giant thing, but I can swim to that buoy.
And did
So
you always start here and then go forward, or did you start there and work backwards?
start with the end goal in mind. I'm going to complete an Ironman. I'm going to
Mhm.
ride around
But,
the world.
but then the planning, did you plan then backwards or forwards?
Both. I often meet in the middle. So when I was planning this trip, it was like, well, I'm going to get down to Spain. I need to get to Brisbane. The bit in the middle I don't understand. So
Mhm.
let me plan the bits I do understand and then come back to the middle. Bit like that with the Ironman. It's like, the swim I've got nailed because I'm all right at that. The run, yeah, I've run a marathon, so that's all right. The bike, I've got no idea. So I start with what I know
Mhm.
and then fill in the gaps. And there's always going to be things you don't know. But this is where the feel the fear and do it anyway book always that you can cope, you can do in the moment when you're faced with this thing that you're scared of. Breaking it down into tiny chunks allows you just to take that next step.
Yeah.
And if you've got this grand goal in mind, that's where the clarity comes from. Well, I know where I'm going, I know what I want to do, I know where I want to be, and I've just got to move in that general direction. And like with this journey, we've gone backwards and sideways and all kinds of other things, a bit like the property stuff. We knew what we wanted with property. Didn't always go in the direction we wanted, but
Mhm.
step by step by
But
step
there
by
was
step.
always movement.
Yeah, always movement and changing of plans and adaptability and flexibility and all of those things.
Mhm.
Um, so when you're doing these vision boards at the end of the year, I think there is this, what's the big fuck off? How am I actually going to do
Huge thing.
that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It
And I
was,
think that's when people scale things back to what's doable. It's like,
yeah.
hey, because you can
Yeah.
do it eventually. If it takes you 10 years, 20 years, who
It
cares?
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think when you were talking, the reason that I was asking if you go forwards or backwards, it just reminded me of not really somatic because it's not, it is and it isn't, but an exercise that I've used quite a lot, which is a semi-visualization exercise, but we actually do it in movement. And
Uh,
so the person that, I'll be working with, I'll, guide them into connecting with their body and they'll close their eyes and then, from that space of connection, they'll then say, okay, where is it that I want to be? And so they say that, and you move them forward. And so physically, they're physically moving forward. And it's like, okay, and you're here. What can you see? What can you feel? Describe it. And they're almost in a meditative state. And then I move them. This is why I want to say somatic, even though it's not really. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take you a step back, and we take a step back, and you're now 6 months before that. What are you doing? What can you see?
Okay.
And so it's
Yeah.
a way to guide them
Yeah.
backwards. So, they start with the end goal. Maybe I
Yeah.
need to do this for me. Start with the end
Yeah.
goal and then just take those little steps backwards. Because I think sometimes, like you say, when we think about the end thing, it can feel so overwhelming. It's like, well, I know I want to be there, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know anything. I don't
Yeah.
have a clue. And so like, and I love your idea of doing it both at the same time. So
Mm,
working backwards and also working forwards. But in those moments of absolute chaos where you've no idea what the first step will be,
mm,
start with the end goal and go
mm.
backwards. You will end up where you are at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And there will be, I mean, we talked about Osho Zen cars either on or after the call last week, and those give real clarity because there's going to be tough decisions because
Yeah.
it's not always pretty, it's not always unicorns and rainbows and loveliness. You have to make some tough decisions to get where you want to go. Like I say, clearing the decks can be hard because sometimes it's friends that you thought that you are just draining you of energy. It's jobs that are draining you of energy, and sometimes to get where we want to go we have to do some difficult things along the way, and some people aren't prepared to go through that discomfort, that you know and so they stay stuck.
Or the difficulty of I mean, you say, letting go of people and letting go of situations, and they can be really hard, but also letting go of patterns of the way that we do things,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
pleasers.
yeah,
And then going through the discomfort of learning to say, I'm really sorry, I can't, I don't want to, I don't have it in me.
yeah,
And the easy thing is to carry on being the people pleaser
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's all you've ever known.
yeah, yeah,
And so going against that and unpacking and undoing and learning new ways of behavior, like you said, that can be really tricky sometimes. And sometimes we don't have it in us ever. And sometimes we don't have it in us at a certain moment, but then maybe we will in the future, or maybe we did in the past and now we don't. And it's that kind of um roller coaster ride of life where, where we are right now isn't necessarily where we'll be in 6 months, which is why I love this values exercise so much because it returns us to that place of who am I? What do I want right now? What do I need right now? Oh, this is me. Now I know that I can move forward.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, some of the things that people might want to look out for is that self-medicating, because I think clarity comes when we stop trying to make where we are okay.
Yeah.
With well, like, it'll be okay because I'll just have another glass of wine, it'll be
Just keep
fine.
going. Just keep going.
Keep
Just
going. You know, and yeah, like I say, maybe it was just me, but myself and some of the clients I've had who have made those tough choices is when you stop self-medicating and numbing yourself against the life you're living, and then suddenly you get this clarity about, oh, so I've been through divorce, it's all these things. You go, right, this life I've created that actually was someone else's life and someone else's dream life, that's not what I want. Oh dear God, now I've got to I've got to just like, right, and awfully painful with children involved and everything else. And it would have been better, and there are still people who say, well, it would have been better for everyone if you just carried on. But how sustainable? I would be either dying or dead by now if I'd carried on with that life.
But I also think that, to bring values back into that, that's for some people, yes, that would have been better according to the values that are the
Yep,
compass of their
absolutely
life.
true.
And that
Correct.
is fine. And that's,
Yep,
they are allowed to have that opinion in
yep,
exactly the same way that you are allowed to decide that that life is not what you want. It is not what you're looking for. And maybe it was 10 years ago. Maybe, maybe it was a life that somebody else sold you, and I don't mean a person, but like society, or maybe there's a part of you that 10 years previously thought that that was what you wanted, and then you changed, and then you developed, and then you advanced, and your values changed, and so you see that world in a completely different light, and it no longer resonates with the person that you are.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
values. I love them. Hopefully next time we talk, oh well, no.
Values would be a
Hopefully in
great one
about a
to
month's
do.
time, in a
Yeah.
month's time, I'll be talking, I'll be like, I've got so much clarity.
Clarity. I
I know where
know.
I'm
I'm just,
going.
I already for next week, unless we either forget, because that's
Yeah,
possible.
possible.
But values would be a lovely thing to talk about. I think
Okay,
as
I
a
mean,
year, like you say, as a kind of Christmas and year end and all of that, I think values is like you say, so powerful.
it's I've realized over the last couple of years that there are kind of three pillars um that sustain everything that I do, whether it be work, whether it be coaching, whether it be facilitating these networking things, whether it be in my writing, whether it be in these conversations, whether it be just in my life. And
Mm.
they're the three things that come up time and time again. One, self-love, obviously.
Yeah,
I need more of that at the minute if I'm going to get some clarity. Um, Connection, and the
mm.
idea of connecting with ourselves first, figuring out who we are and what we need and filling our own cup, and then going out and connecting with the world, because that's when we get different types of connection. And then
Yeah,
the third pillar is values.
yeah.
Always wittering on about values. So if you want to do a podcast on it, I'm in. I'm just warning you, it might not be 45 minutes. It might be, an hour and
We might
a
have to have part one, part two.
half.
That could be a thing.
Could be a thing. But yeah, I do think it's the perfect time of
Oh.
year.
So have you got clarity about where you are now in the cards?
I think I have.
I have.
Oh, okay. You find yours. I know what
Just
area I'm in anyway.
yeah, I'm green. Um, hmm. So going with because I have almost been sitting like this during going with the color, the picture, and the that's where I am now.
Okay, nice. Well,
Hmm.
I'm also green. I'm green, and I am now hopeful.
Oh, look, that little ladder into your mind with the
I
shiny bright
know.
light.
Shine. Oh, it looks like a tunnel with the light at the end of it.
Oh my God.
Do, 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 do. Yes, I feel hopeful that all will be well.
And it
Will
will.
all be okay.
This too shall pass.
Yes,
Yeah,
it.
so calm and hopeful at the end of that. How lovely is that?
I mean, very nice considering that we started off like, oh, we don't have any
Bah.
clarity. We hate our lives. They're rubbish.
Beautiful. Oh,
Well, thank you. I so
thank
needed that. I needed it
you.
more than I realized today.
Yeah, it's lovely. At the beginning, I was kind of going, oh my God, how are we going to get through all of this and I do feel like we've just gone unpacked it all and created this beautiful space. Thank
We have.
you.
We have. Well, so you are in Turkey and you are going to Armenia. Where are you
Georgia
going?
first. We've got to go to
Georgia.
Georgia first, which is, yeah, up into the cold, -5 in some of it.
All will be well.
We'll be, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll find a way.
Well, be safe. Try and be warm. Try and stay warm. And next week, next time, we will unpack values and
Mhm.
see where we're both at and see if we have any more clarity than what we did about 45 minutes ago. Let's hope so, please, universe. We would both like that very much.
Amazing.
Okay, thank you.
Mwah.
Bye.
See you next week.